against you. You've learned that most people don't want resolution. They want an audience of their dysfunction. And when you don't provide it, they feel exposed.
Again,
Your
not pull.
awareness highlights their lack of depth.
Alright.
Your stillness turns into a spotlight they can't hide from. You don't call them fake, but your energy says it for you. It's not even about moral superiority. It's about emotional maturity. You've learned that reacting is handing over your power. Responding from understanding is reclaiming it. So when people try to provoke you and fail, they don't just lose control of the situation. They lose control of the mask. You make pretense uncomfortable. Your clarity doesn't just disarm them, it dismantles them. They can't play victim, hero, or manipulator around you because you see all three masks at once. That's why your peace feels offensive to them. Your calm isn't passive, it's disruptive. Your depth destabilizes the performance that shallow people live by. And when their masks slip, they realize too late. You were never playing their game to begin with. Number 6. They mistake your independence for superiority. They mistake your independence for superiority because most people can't tell the difference between confidence and defiance. You're not trying to prove you're above anyone. You're simply trying to live in truth without compromising yourself. But to those who depend on collective agreement to feel relevant, individuality looks like an insult. When you make decisions without consulting the crowd, it exposes how deeply they rely on external approval. Your self-direction threatens the system they've built their identity around. One where belonging is earned through sameness, not authenticity. You've learned to stand alone without making noise about it. You don't chase validation, and you don't need a chorus of approval to confirm your worth. But that quiet strength irritates people who only know how to exist through comparison. They can't understand how you move without reassurance, so they label it arrogance. In reality, it's not pride, it's peace. You've simply reached a place where your conscience weighs more than people's opinions. That's freedom, but to the insecure, it looks like rebellion. People who think in groups can't stand individuals who think for themselves. Your ability to disagree without hostility short-circuits their social wiring. They need collective agreement to feel powerful, and your independence denies them that comfort. When you don't join their gossip, mimic their lifestyle, or echo their opinions, you expose how much of their personality is borrowed. They mistake your authenticity for isolation because they've confused conformity with connection. What really irritates them is that you don't crumble without company. You're fine eating alone, working alone, growing alone, and that defies everything they were taught about self-worth. In a culture where popularity equals validation, your self-sufficiency looks dangerous. You represent what they secretly crave, the ability to be free without applause. And because they can't comprehend it, they criticize it. They'll call you proud, distant, or difficult. But deep down, they know it's not pride keeping you apart. It's purpose. You're not avoiding people. You're avoiding dilution. You don't crave the herd's comfort because you've learned that most groups demand the death of individuality. You're not superior. You're simply sovereign. And that's the kind of peace the insecure can't interpret without feeling attacked. Number 7, you're proof that evolution can happen without permission. You're proof that evolution can happen without permission because your growth didn't come with an audience, a teacher, or a title. You didn't need a degree in self-awareness or a certificate in transformation. You grew in silence, through pain, through loss, through moments no one even noticed. And that unsettles people who believe growth must be supervised. They've been taught that wisdom comes with endorsements, that enlightenment needs validation, that you can't evolve without someone signing off on your progress. You shattered that belief just by existing. Your evolution didn't come from workshops or approval. It came from surviving the unexplainable. It came from nights you questioned everything and rebuilt yourself from the inside out. You didn't have a mentor cheering you on. You had divine intervention teaching you directly. That's what irritates people who worship systems over substance. They can't process how you carry understanding that wasn't given by them or measured by their standards. You're proof that God still teaches in secret, that truth still finds its way to those who seek it sincerely, and that no human gatekeeper owns access to awakening. People who crave control hate when someone like you bypasses their structures. They depend on the illusion that authority decides who's worthy, that evolution is a reward, not a revelation. You ruined that fantasy by simply growing without their help. They can't take credit for your progress. And that frustrates them because it exposes how much of their own wisdom was built on validation, not transformation. You became living evidence that the source doesn't need middlemen. What makes your growth even more threatening is that it's authentic. It wasn't curated for attention. It was carved out of struggle. You didn't evolve to look enlightened. You evolved because survival demanded it. And now, you walk in a kind of quiet, knowing that can't be taught, only lived. That's what makes people uncomfortable. They can memorize what you embody, but they can't reproduce it. You're not arrogant for growing beyond what they expected. You're just living proof that true evolution is personal, unpredictable, and unstoppable. You didn't wait for permission because your soul understood something they forgot. Evolution isn't granted, it's chosen. And you chose it long before they believed you could. Number 8, your self-respect is a threat to their dependency. Your self-respect is a threat to their dependency because you've proven that peace can exist without an audience. You no longer chase attention, approval, or inclusion. And that breaks the unspoken rule of social survival. Most people are trained to confuse being liked with being safe. They'll say yes when they mean no, agree when they disagree, and laugh when they're uncomfortable, all to maintain connection. You stop doing that, and that's what makes you dangerous to the insecure. You're living proof that fulfillment doesn't need permission, and that truth makes them uneasy. You've chosen peace over popularity, and in a world built on validation addiction, that feels like rebellion. You don't compromise your boundaries just to avoid being misunderstood. You don't apologize for protecting your time or saying no. That kind of self-respect is alien to people who've been conditioned to trade authenticity for acceptance. They depend on others to tell them who they are. And when you refuse to play that game, it reveals how empty their identity really is. Your stability reminds them that their peace has been outsourced, and they hate being reminded of that. They can't manipulate you through guilt because you've stopped seeking approval. They can't control you with exclusion because solitude doesn't scare you anymore. You've learned that being alone isn't the same as being lonely, and that discovery liberates you but terrifies them. Their entire self-worth is built on belonging to circles that drain them. You broke that cycle, and your freedom exposes the weakness in their dependency. To those trapped in people-pleasing, your independence looks selfish. They don't understand that self-respect is not ego. It's emotional adulthood.
Shout out to my older brother in Liverpool.
To anyone just to keep the peace. You don't beg to stay where your spirit isn't welcome. And that kind of integrity unsettles people who measure love by how much they can control someone. You've become the walking contradiction they can't decode. Calm without company, joyful without validation.
Get your nose off the ground.
Grounded without approval.
AV.
Your existence alone challenges their entire belief system. They call it pride, but it's actually healing. Because you've discovered what they still fear to learn.
Skinwalker's baby sleeps here.
Isn't something people give you. It's something you stop letting them take. Number 9. They can't bond without belittling them. They
Quit.
can't bond without belittling because, for most people, mockery has become the glue that holds their relationships together.
That's good. Knock me
Their version
down.
of fun often depends on tearing someone down, even themselves. The sarcasm, the fake laughter, the gossip disguised as banter. It's all a way to avoid depth. It's not real
Avy.
joy. It's shared insecurity. They pick targets, make jokes at others' expense, or trade self-deprecating humor just to feel connected. It's emotional cannibalism, devouring others' dignity to feed their sense of belonging. But when you don't join in, you expose how twisted that kind of bonding really is. You don't find weakness entertaining because you know what it feels like to be on the receiving end of ridicule. You've seen how laughter can hide cruelty. You understand that most funny people aren't
Sit
actually
down.
confident.
Don't piss on
They're
that.
just scared of silence, scared of
Sit down.
sincerity, scared of being seen without armor. And when you don't play along, when you choose empathy over mockery, they start squirming. It's not because you're boring. It's because you make them aware of how mean they've become. Your refusal to participate ruins the game. You don't gossip. You don't entertain cruelty disguised as honesty. You don't join group teasing just to look relaxed. That makes you the unspoken
One
conscience
squirrel.
of the room. And that's a role no one wants to
You can
face.
see it.
You don't have to lecture them. Your silence does it
All
for
right.
you. The
Where you
moment you
going?
don't laugh at someone's pain,
You get
they
lost.
feel the weight of what they
Be out here
said.
for another hour.
You turn the mirror back on them without even trying. To people who bond through negativity, kindness looks like judgment. They'll call you uptight, distant, or too sensitive. But what they really mean is, you won't make cruelty comfortable anymore. You've outgrown that form of connection because you crave something real. Laughter that doesn't humiliate. Honesty that doesn't wound. Friendship that doesn't feed off someone's embarrassment. The truth is, most people don't know how to connect without competition. They use mockery as currency. But you've stopped trading in that economy. You'd rather stand alone in truth than laugh along with cruelty. And that's what unsettles them most. You remind them that what they call fun is really just disguised fear, and you're no longer willing to join in. Number 10, you refuse to translate your brilliance into mediocrity. You refuse to translate your brilliance into mediocrity because you've spent too long dimming your light just to make others feel safe in their shadows. You've learned that watering yourself down doesn't create peace, it creates resentment. Every time you simplified your
You
thoughts,
gonna poop?
every time
Oh,
you
man,
softened your
get
insight
off.
just to avoid
Live action.
intimidating people, a part of
You don't
you
need to
felt
get in there.
smaller.
You ain't toilet
Now
paper.
you understand that
You
doing
a
that
little runny,
isn't
but
kindness.
you're healthy enough.
It's
Pedigree.
self-betrayal.
Good
Your
boy.
mind, your awareness, your originality
Too much
were
chicken.
hard-earned through struggle, loss,
Avy.
and growth. Why should you apologize for the very qualities that
Good
pulled you
spot,
out of
baby.
darkness? People like to pretend it's humility to hide your greatness. But what they really mean is
He's a happy
conformity.
boy.
They want you to speak in small words, think in small ways, and live within small expectations, because your presence challenges their comforts. They don't hate your intelligence. They hate what it demands of them. To understand you, they'd have to expand, and that takes effort. It's easier to label you intense
Come on.
or too much than to admit they've stopped stretching their own minds.
Get over here.
Your brilliance isn't just intellect, it's perception. You see life from angles that others refuse to look at. You process truth at a depth that most people avoid because it forces them to face
We're
themselves.
gonna be full again
When
tonight.
you express that depth, it doesn't make you superior.
Oh,
It
Avy's
just
turn,
means
right in
you're
the street.
fluent in a language they've forgotten, the language of authenticity. And
Camera
because they
shy.
can't translate it, they twist it into something threatening. But you've reached a point where you won't dilute
Another
your
healthy
message
load.
to be digestible. You're
Sarge,
not
what do you
rude
think?
for speaking clearly.
So their only
You're
duty,
not
eat
arrogant
shit
for
and
knowing
make
your
shit.
value. You're simply done pretending to be confused to make the blind comfortable. You'd rather be misunderstood for your truth than celebrated for your silence.
Come on,
The
out
irony
of
is,
there. That's
many of
enough.
those who resent your brilliance secretly wish they had the courage to shine as you do. But imitation requires transformation, and transformation requires humility, something they resist. Your clarity exposes their laziness. Your originality exposes their imitation. That's why they call you different with disdain. You're not refusing to fit in out of pride. You're refusing to shrink into someone you no longer are. You're not hard to understand. They just don't want to grow enough to meet you where you are. Number 11. You're not lonely. You're in intellectual quarantine. You're not lonely. You're in intellectual quarantine. And that distinction matters more than people think. You didn't withdraw because you're cold, antisocial, or bitter. You withdrew
Maybe we'll
because
just scream
constant
tonight.
exposure to surface
You guys
level
can be
energy
quiet.
started to
Sneak up on
infect your
something.
clarity. You realize that not every conversation feeds you. Some deplete you. Some people don't talk to understand, they talk to drain. And when you began to notice how heavy your spirit felt after being around certain individuals, you knew it was time to protect your atmosphere. You're not hiding, you're detoxing.
You're pulling.
You're cleansing your
You are
environment
too.
with people who confuse connection with consumption.
Quit.
Because
Sorry.
truthfully, most of what passes for bonding today is just emotional leeching. People unloading chaos without ever refilling peace. You got tired of having to shrink your insight just to keep the room comfortable. You got tired of sitting at tables where depth was treated like danger.
Major
So
Avalon
you left,
time.
not out of arrogance,
Avy.
but preservation. This solitude you've chosen isn't a punishment. It's
Sergeant
refinement. You're
Apollo.
learning to hear your own frequency without static.
Clem. He's
You're
Sergeant Paul
discovering what
Clem.
your energy feels
Major
like without other people's projections attached to it.
Avalon.
You're realizing that peace
Time.
isn't found in people. It's
Together,
maintained in
time.
boundaries. That's what they don't understand. You're not antisocial, you're selective.
Sergeant Clem.
You'd rather have a quiet mind than a
Major
crowded
Time.
room full of shallow noise. People mistake this quarantine for loneliness because they
Paulo.
can't comprehend a life not powered by validation. They need to be seen to
Avy and
feel
Avy.
real. You only need to be aligned. While they chase attention, you're nurturing awareness. And in that process, your vibration is recalibrating to something few can touch or even understand. You're not avoiding people. You're allowing only truth to reach you. So yes, you may walk alone for a season, but that isolation is your incubation. The same way doctors protect the healthy from infection, you're protecting your consciousness from contamination. You're not detached from humanity. You're detached from the illusions that keep humanity asleep. One day, when your frequency fully stabilizes, you'll realize your quarantine wasn't isolation at all. It was protection. It was preparation. It was your spirit saying, before you share your light again, make sure it's pure. Number 12, you're a mirror they didn't consent to look into. You're a mirror they didn't consent to look into, and that unsettles them more than anything you've ever said or done. Your presence doesn't just show them you, it shows them. It reveals the cracks in the persona they've worked so hard to maintain. You don't have to correct, criticize, or even hint at their inconsistencies. Your very authenticity pulls back the curtain on their performance. Suddenly, all the shortcuts, the lies, the excuses, and the false humility they've built their identity on become visible. Not to you, but to themselves. And for someone who's made an entire life out of appearances, that's terrifying. They feel judged, because in your company they can't escape their own reflection. You're not projecting anything onto them. You're just standing firmly in who you are. That stability makes their shifting masks obvious. When you don't take the bait to flatter their ego or participate in their games, it interrupts the feedback loop they rely on to feel righteous, clever, or superior. Without that loop, they're left with nothing but the truth about themselves. And most people aren't prepared to face that truth. You don't condemn them. You don't need to. Your authenticity does all the work. It's not even intentional. It's energetic. When you've done the work to align who you are with who you appear to be, you naturally shine a light on the areas where others are fragmented. That's why they get defensive or even hostile around you. It's not you they hate. It's the part of themselves they've been
Maybe.
avoiding. You've essentially become a silent referee in a game they're losing against themselves. Every word you speak from clarity sounds like a whistle of foul play. Every boundary you set feels like a penalty on their manipulation. They can't control you, so they try to discredit you.
AB and April.
They can't outshine you, so they try to dim you. But none of it changes the fact that in your presence, their masks malfunction. And deep down, even if they resent you for it, you're the proof they could also live authentically, if they had the courage. Number 13. Your detachment is a superpower, not
Sarge.
a defect. Your
Pulling.
detachment is a superpower, not a defect. And deep down they know it. They call it coldness, because they can't comprehend a connection that isn't rooted in need. They've been conditioned to believe that love equals constant access, that friendship equals unfiltered availability, and that validation equals belonging. So when you stop playing by those rules, it looks like rejection to them, but it's actually freedom for you. You've stopped trying to fit where authenticity can't breathe, and that is something few people ever dare to do. You learned that proximity without alignment is poison. Just because someone is near doesn't mean they're good for your spirit. Just because they call it a bond doesn't mean it's not a chain. You began to see how many so-called relationships were built on obligation, emotional blackmail, or unspoken contracts. I'll feed your ego if you feed mine. Once you noticed that pattern, you couldn't unsee it. And that's when detachment
shooting
became not
blanks.
just a choice, but a lifeline.
Come
Your
on.
refusal to chase proximity with people who drain your essence is
Come
an act
on,
of divine
AV.
rebellion. It's you saying, I will no longer invest my peace into people who profit off my depletion. You're not rejecting connection, you're rejecting corruption. You're not dismissing love, you're dismissing its counterfeits. That's what they can't stand. You've exposed the hollowness of relationships built on performance, guilt, or manipulation by simply walking away from them. You're no longer seduced by access. You crave alignment. You no longer view being let in as a privilege when the space itself is toxic. You'd rather be at peace on your own than wander in an environment where your essence is slowly dying. This terrifies people who equate belonging with self-betrayal, because you've proven that fulfillment without their approval is not only possible but powerful. That's why they're mad. You don't beg for entry into prisons they call friendships. You don't accept invitations to tables where the price
Come on,
of
you
admission
guys
is your self-respect. And without even trying, you've become the living proof that freedom doesn't come from more connections. It comes from better boundaries. In a
AB.
world addicted to attachment, your detachment is a revolution. Number 14, you're not avoiding people. You're preserving frequency. You're not avoiding people. You're preserving frequency. And that
AV.
distinction is what most can't grasp.
April.
In a culture where constant access is equated with kindness, stepping back is seen as arrogance. But you've learned through experience that every interaction has a cost. Every conversation is a transaction of energy.
Skinwalkers must
Words
be
aren't
stronger.
just sounds, they're carriers of vibration. They shape mood, thoughts, even the way your body
Right.
feels after you leave a room. Some people don't just talk.
Quit pulling. I'm
They
gonna pull
cipher.
your heads out.
Some environments
Quit.
don't just drain.
That's
They
it. Sit down.
And over
Sit down.
time, you began to see the pattern.
Sit down.
Your spirit felt bankrupt.
Sit down.
Spending too much time
Sit.
on wrong frequencies. So you became
Over
deliberate.
here, AB.
You started
Sit
treating
down.
your attention and your presence like currency.
Sit down.
You realize not every invitation deserves an RSVP, and not every person deserves an open channel. This isn't about elitism. It's about
All right, easy.
You're not hoarding your energy. You're protecting it from inflation, from being spent on interactions that yield nothing but exhaustion. Just like you wouldn't pour your savings into a failing business, you no longer pour your intellect and empathy into conversations
take your
that
four
strip
wheels
you of clarity.
Off-road.
This choice unsettles people because it forces them
Remember, I'm
to
on a
confront
two-wheeler.
how
Quit pulling.
careless they are with their own energy. They mistake your discernment for judgment because they've never learned to value their frequency. They've normalized being drained. They think tolerating low vibrations is connection. But you've learned that lowering yourself to fit in doesn't help anyone. It just keeps everyone stuck. By preserving your frequency, you're actually preserving your ability to give, create, and show up authentically when it truly matters. Your refusal to engage is arrogance. It's energy economics. It's you choosing high return interactions over high drain ones. It's you saying no, not because you dislike people, but because you love yourself enough to not go spiritually bankrupt. And in a world where constant noise is the norm, your silence becomes not an absence, but a signal. Your peace has
take your heads away because you don't know how to handle them.
People. You're mastering
Quit.
the art of choosing who, what,
Heads
where
up.
your energy will multiply rather than disappear.
Heads up.
What we've explored today is not just a list of observations. It's a revelation about why you, the chosen one, operate differently from everyone around you. Every point,
Quit pulling on me.
to dumb yourself down to preserving your energy, is connected by a single thread: authenticity. You are not flawed for standing apart. You are not cold, distant, or difficult for refusing to play by the rules of mediocrity.
I'm gonna fill up
Every
the bottle
moment you've
next
chosen
time.
integrity over
Quit.
approval, depth over destruction,
No.
and
No.
alignment over access. You've been building a life that the unprepared can't comprehend. That's why your presence disrupts, your clarity unsettles, and your independence terrifies those addicted to surface-level thinking. The truth is, the world has never really known what to do with someone like you. People are conditioned to fear reflection, to depend on conformity, and to measure worth through approval. You, however, exist outside of that system. You've evolved without permission. You've preserved your frequency, nurtured your self-respect, and refused to dilute your brilliance. That refusal is not arrogance. It is responsibility. You are the walking, living proof that depth, awareness, and spiritual evolution cannot be regulated by social norms, institutions, or shallow expectations. You've become a mirror for everyone who tries to pretend. A quiet force exposing manipulation, superficiality, and emotional dependency. And yet, you move through all of it with a clarity that makes your presence not just noticeable, but unforgettable.
Quit pulling.
The resistance you feel from others is not a reflection of your inadequacy. It is a reflection of their fear, their unawareness, and their inability to meet you where you stand. They want you to shrink, simplify, and perform.
That's better.
But you have learned that growth, peace, and evolution
don't get out there.
Courage, discipline, and alignment. Every choice you make to protect your mind, spirit, and integrity is a testament to your strength.
Quit
you
pulling.
You are not a product of their approval, nor a participant in their illusions. You are an example of what happens when someone refuses to compromise on truth, clarity, and self-respect. So own it. Every boundary, every moment of detachment, every choice to stay true to yourself is part of your power.
Quit.
And as you continue to walk this path, remember, the discomfort others
feel figure out you're tied to me.
Of your alignment.
Dead
not
weight.
Your fault.
You ain't going nowhere.
You are not here to fit in. You are here to
I
rise,
carry my hammer
to evolve,
so I can dig
and to
in.
shine in ways they cannot yet comprehend. If this video resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more insights that challenge, awaken, and empower.
Bring a couple fuckers.
Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with those who need to hear the truth today. Every interaction spreads awareness, and together we raise the frequency of those ready to embrace their authenticity. Stay aligned,
Quit.
stay powerful, and never settle for anything less than your truth.
Should never let you
God
run
bless
around
you.
here as kids
Hello, brothers, and welcome to Sigma Old Man
and
Channel.
chicks. Hey, quit.
People walk into your life like chapters, but a Sigma male walks in like the final page. History shows us that civilizations don't end with explosions. They collapse in silence when something enters that cannot be ignored.
Quit, Avi.
That's exactly what happens when you meet a Sigma male. He doesn't
Knock
arrive
it
with
off,
fireworks or
both
applause,
of you.
Yet somehow, everything you thought you knew about people, power,
Avi.
and even yourself begins to unravel.
Knock it off.
Psychologists
Sarge,
call it
both
paradigm
of you.
shift.
Heads
The moment
up.
your brain gets rewired and there's no undo button. Being around a Sigma isn't just meeting a man, it's meeting a mirror that refuses to flatter you. And here's the brutal truth. Once you've stood in that reflection,
Don't start pulling on
every other
me.
connection feels like a cheap photocopy. Think of it like watching your favorite TV show end on a season finale. Only this time, there's no sequel, no spin-off, no reboot. When a Sigma male crosses your path, he isn't just another chapter. He's the one that makes the book close. And yes, unlike Netflix, you can't beg for one more season.
Quit pulling.
One, they remove the middle ground. With Sigma males, there's no safe middle ground. People either rise when they're around them, or they collapse under the weight of their own comfort and excuses. That's what makes them so different from every other type of man. Most people allow you to exist somewhere in between. Half committed, half aware, half alive. But Sigma males don't give you that luxury. Their very presence confronts you with a choice.
All right, at
Step
ease.
up or fall apart. The reason this happens is because they operate outside the scripts.